She stood at the edge of the grand hall, the flickering lights casting a soft glow over the polished floor. The air was thick with celebration, laughter, music, clinking glasses, but she felt invisible. Her sister's wedding was supposed to be a joyful day, a new beginning for the family. Yet here she was, pushed aside, forced to sit alone in a corner, watching the festivities from a distance. It wasn't always like this. Growing up, they had been inseparable, two sisters bound by dreams, secrets, and unspoken promises. But today, everything had changed. A misunderstanding, a harsh word said in haste. And suddenly, she was the outcast at the very event that should have united them. The whispers around the room felt like needles piercing her heart. Why is she alone? Didn't she get an invitation to the family table? Her sister's smile from across the room felt like a blade, cold, distant, unfamiliar. She hugged her arms tightly, trying to swallow the lump forming in her throat. The dress she wore, carefully chosen weeks ago, suddenly felt like a costume she was forced to wear, a mask hiding her pain. She wished she could disappear, to vanish into the shadows where no one would notice the tears threatening to spill. Just as the loneliness threatened to consume her, a shadow appeared beside her. She looked up startled and saw a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He was holding a small hand, and beside him stood a little boy, shy but curious. "Mind if we join you?" he asked softly. She shook her head, unsure. She wasn't used to kindness in moments like this. "I'm Mark," he said, extending a hand. "This is my son, Liam. We're new in town. I couldn't help but notice you're sitting here all alone." She hesitated but took his hand, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt all day. They sat together, and Mark's easy conversation began to chip away at the walls she had built around herself. As the evening progressed, more guests noticed the unusual trio, a single dad and his son sitting, with the lone girl on the sidelines. The whispers began again, but this time she didn't feel embarrassed. She felt seen. Then came the moment that changed everything. Her sister approached, radiant and poised, but with an edge of tension in her eyes. The whispers had reached her ears, and the family drama was about to explode. The groom sighed. Before anything could unravel, Mark gently took her hand and said, "Act like you're with me." It was a simple sentence, but it felt like a shield, a promise of protection. He stood, placing a confident arm around her shoulders. The little boy grinned, holding her other hand. Together, they walked into the heart of the party. Heads turned. Conversations paused. For the first time that night, she held her head high. She wasn't alone anymore. The night was far from over. And as the music played on, something inside her began to shift. Hope, courage, and a newfound strength blossomed. This unexpected alliance might just rewrite the story of her life. The days following the wedding were a whirlwind of emotions. The memory of that night, of Mark's unexpected gesture, stayed with her like a comforting light. She found herself thinking about him and his son more often than she expected. There was something genuine in the way he had stood by her, not as a savior but as an equal, a companion in her moment of need. Life, she realized, could change in an instant. Mark was a man who carried his own burdens, a single father navigating the world, with courage and quiet determination. Through the conversations that followed, they discovered shared dreams, hopes for the future, and fears that kept them awake at night. Liam, with his bright eyes and infectious laughter, became the bridge between them, weaving joy into their tentative friendship. Her sister's wedding, once a symbol of isolation, had unexpectedly opened the door to new possibilities. The family tensions didn't disappear overnight, but she learned to face them with resilience, supported by the unexpected friendship blossoming between her and Mark. One afternoon, as they sat in a small cafe, Mark looked at her with a seriousness that caught her off guard. "You don't have to face everything alone," he said gently. "Sometimes life pushes us into lonely corners, but it's up to us to find the people who will stand beside us. I want to be that person for you." Her heart raced, not from fear, but from the fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something real. She smiled, the weight on her chest lifting. "I think I've been waiting for someone to say that." Together they faced the world, two souls healing from past wounds, learning to trust again. The wedding night was just the beginning, a catalyst for change, reminding her that even in the darkest moments, there is light waiting to be found. As the screen fades to black, remember that every story has its turning point, and sometimes, it's the unexpected kindness of a stranger that changes everything. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more tales of hope, courage, and unexpected connections. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your next favorite story is just a click away. The days turned into weeks, and life settled into a new rhythm, one neither of them had expected, but both embraced with cautious hope. The connection between her and Mark deepened, blossoming like a fragile flower nurtured after a harsh winter. They met often, sometimes with Liam bounding between them, laughter filling the spaces that once felt heavy with silence and doubt. Parts of herself she had long forgotten. The joy in simple conversations, the thrill of shared dreams, and the healing power of trust. Mark's presence was steady and grounding, a reminder that sometimes the people who enter our lives unexpectedly are the ones meant to stay. But as the bond grew stronger, so did the challenges. Family tensions simmered beneath the surface. Like storm clouds threatening to burst, her sister's cold shoulder didn't thaw, and whispers followed them wherever they went. The world around her wasn't quite ready to accept this new chapter, and she could feel the weight of expectations pressing down. One afternoon, as they walked through a quiet park, Liam trailing behind, she paused to catch her breath. "Do you think this will ever get easier?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "The judging, the looking down. I'm tired of fighting." Mark looked at her with unwavering eyes, his hand reaching out to gently brush a stray strand of hair from her face. "Nothing worth having comes easy," he said softly. "But you're stronger than you realize, and you're not alone anymore. We face it together." That promise echoed in her heart, a balm to the wounds that still throbbed from the past. In Mark, she found not just a friend or a protector, but a partner willing to stand beside her no matter what. As the seasons changed, so did their lives. The walls around her sister's heart began to crack, softened by time and the undeniable truth that happiness can't be confined by grudges or misunderstandings. Slowly, the family began to heal, piecing together broken bridges one conversation at a time. Mark's little family grew as well, enriched by laughter, shared meals, and quiet moments that spoke louder than words. The wedding night that once marked a day of isolation became a distant memory, replaced by a future painted with hope and the promise of new beginnings. One evening, as they sat under a blanket of stars, Liam nestled between them. She realized just how far she had come from the girl forced to sit alone at her sister's wedding to someone who had found strength, love, and belonging in the most unexpected place. "Thank you," she whispered to Mark, her voice full of gratitude, "for seeing me when no one else did, for standing with me." He smiled, his eyes reflecting the same warmth. "Thank you for letting me in." The journey wasn't over, but together, they knew they could face whatever came next. And as you watch this story unfold, remember that sometimes the moments we fear most become the very turning points that change our lives forever. If you felt lost, alone, or misunderstood, know that there's always hope. Sometimes in the kindness of a stranger, sometimes in the courage to stand tall, and sometimes in the love that finds you when you met. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for more inspiring tales that remind us all of the power of connection, resilience, and hope. Your story matters, and you're never truly alone. The days after that starry evening were filled with quiet moments of reflection and a growing sense of peace. She found herself waking up with a lightness she hadn't felt in years, a quiet hope blossoming in the depths of her soul. Mark and Liam had become more than just companions. They were a lifeline, an anchor pulling her from the loneliness that had once felt permanent. Yet even as her heart opened, the shadows of the past lingered. Her sister's coldness hadn't entirely thawed, and the family gatherings remained strained. She knew healing wouldn't come overnight, and sometimes it felt like she was walking on a tightrope, balancing between forgiveness and pain. One afternoon, Mark surprised her with a small picnic. In the park where they had shared so many conversations, Liam ran ahead, chasing butterflies and laughing without a care in the world. Watching them, she felt a swell of affection so deep it brought tears to her eyes. Mark sat beside her, his voice gentle. "I know it's hard. Family is complicated, but I see your strength every day. You're not just surviving, you're growing." She smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I never imagined I could feel this alive again. After everything, I thought I'd be broken forever." "Sometimes," Mark said softly, "we have to break to rebuild, and you're building something beautiful." That moment, simple yet profound, reminded her why she had fought so hard to rise above the pain. It wasn't just about mending old wounds. It was about creating a new life, where she was valued, loved, and free. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, the walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. She found courage to confront her sister, not with anger, but with understanding. The conversations were difficult, raw, and honest, but they planted seeds of reconciliation. Mark stood by her side through it all, his unwavering support a beacon of hope. Together, they navigated the complexities of family and love, learning that healing was messy but worth every step. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she realized that the little girl who once sat, alone at a wedding, was no longer defined by that moment. She was a woman reborn, stronger, braver, and ready to embrace the future. With Mark's hand in hers and Liam's laughter echoing around them, she knew this was only the beginning of a beautiful journey, a story of love, forgiveness, and the power of standing together.